Hi all, welcome to ESI Cloud Trainings. My name is Shalini Nerella. Let's get started with Boomi Atomsphere Basic Training Day 8 session. So in our today's session, we'll see how to integrate two end applications, one cloud application and one local application. So we'll integrate data between Salesforce accounts object data and we'll load them into database table. So we'll see Salesforce to database insert, Salesforce to database update, and SQL lookup to insert or update. So if the record is already present, it should go and update the data. If the data is not present, it should go and insert it. Right? So let's get started. So now these are the three records that are there in accounts object, right? So now we'll move all these three into database. Right, so now in database we need to have this structure, so it should have this structure that is there in accounts object, right? So for that, what are we going to do? We'll create that structure in database. So we'll create that table. So this is the table. I'll just copy it and paste it here. We'll create a table. So now so this is created. Now if you see here, we have sf underscore account and columns. All these are the different columns, right? So now as of now there'll be no data, correct? So select star from sf underscore account. So 0. Now what I want to do is I want to move all this data to database. Data from accounts object to database. So now we'll go ahead and create a process. So let me create the folder first, day 8. Done. And now let's create a process. So we'll say SF is Salesforce, SF to DB insert. So say no data start, and then so first whenever you are starting with any project, the very important thing is configure your endpoints and test them first. Configure your endpoints. So now let me create the source. So Salesforce get. We already have the connection, so let's reuse it. So the best practice is create this connection in common components so you can reuse across different processes. So let's do that. So let me copy these connections to Salesforce, to common components. Also database connection. So we have them here. Database connection and Salesforce connection. So these can be reused, right? So I'll go and select my connection from Shalini common components, right? And now I'll create the operation. So I'll say account Salesforce operation. So import this. So out of here, select your object account and the action will be query. Say next. So now we'll say next. and it has created the response profile, and we have discussed all these options, right? So let's say save and close and click on OK. So this is now done. Now what we'll do, now we'll create the target. So database is our target database, and now the action is going to be send, right? Connection reuse from common components, operation. So I'll again also say here account database operation and create your profile. So now you can click on statement. If you click on statement, you'll see here standard insert, update or delete, which means you can write down the scripts here. You can write down the statement here, right? You can write down normal insert statements, update statements, delete statements, etc. And you'll see here import is not enabled. And if you go and click dynamic insert, which means you are importing it from database. So you'll see that import option enabled, and you'll just get this table name created. Similarly, dynamic update, dynamic delete, and stored procedure write. Right? So these are in the send action. So now what we'll do, because this is our insert operation, we'll be doing dynamic insert and we'll import it from table. Choose your connection. Say next. So it has loaded the tables. I'll go and select SF underscore account. Say next. And here you can select the required fields. So for me, I'll need all the fields. Say next. Finish. So now you'll see here the profile been created. Right? And table name SF underscore account. So this is also done. So now I'll have to convert. So out of Salesforce, I'm getting this XML data. And before inserting into database, I need to have a database profile. Right? So this conversion from XML to database profile is done through mapping. So use a map. So map is used to convert from one format to another format. So here we are converting from XML profile to database profile. So I'll now say SF account, SF to DB account map. Okay. So go and choose your profile, XML profile, and I'll select this. And here I'll select database profile. So now we have more number of fields here, if you see, correct? So manually going and mapping each one will not be the correct option. So as we discussed, we have something here called Boomi suggest. So here it will give you high confidence 32, medium 2. So you can also see when the mapping sheet is provided, you can just compare them if they are correctly mapped or no, right? And say next. So industry to annual revenue, website to site. So just say finish, right? So now, so this automatically created, and you'll be able to see for created date, it had automatically created a map function get current date. Right? So you can just check whether all have been correctly mapped or no, and say save and close. So now let's try executing this process. I'll place a stop shift to the end. Save and execute. So remember now, can we use a cloud atom? No, because it includes a local application database. So I'll have to use local atom. So see here what it says, data too long for column description. So now when you get this kind of error, what you'll have to do? first go and see what is the data that is coming to description. So to database, if I go here and see the data, so here you'll be able to see what data is coming into database. And if you see here the profile, so we have created here, right? And you'll see description. So see here description varchar of 40. So if the data is more than 40 characters, then you are getting this error, data too long, right? So for that, what I can do, I'll just go and provide the data, and I'll say here for description. So description, see here, if I want to see what it's been mapped to, so description is here. Instead of dragging like this and seeing what it is mapped to, I can say show mapping. So it will show you. Now the data is too long is what it says, right? So now what I'll have to do, I'll trim the data. I will trim the data to 40 characters. So I'll say trim the data, right character trim, and I'll say fix to length 40, right? So now I'll say 40. So original string will be description, and it's been mapped to here. So now let's execute again. So it says duplicate entry found for this primary key. So this error is because the data is already inserted earlier, right? Earlier, before it has thrown the error, it has already inserted some data, and because it is primary key, it is giving duplicate error. So what I'll do, I'll go to database and will delete the already present record. So see here, if I execute this, I'll be able to see the data already present. So what am I going to do? I'll first delete the data. Delete from sf underscore account where sf underscore id n. I'll copy this. So this is done, right? Now if I say select star from sf underscore account, zero records. Now I'll go and insert. So this is executed. Now if I go here and see the data, select star from employees, you'll be able to see, sorry, select star from sf underscore account, you'll be able to see all the three records. See here, Acme Global Media Salesforce.com, right? So this is how it works. So we have integrated data from Salesforce to database insert. Now what am I going to do is I will update. So for Acme, I will go and update something here. I'll say edit. So yesterday we have modified from prospect to customer. So I'll again modify this back to prospect. Say save. So now this have to go and update. This value have to go and be updated in database. So now if you see here, we are having for Acme, the type is, see, account type is customer. So this have to be changed to prospect. So now what we are going to do, go back, create one more process, SF2 DB update. So say no data, click OK. Salesforce again. So here select your connection. Operation also you can select. And now again create your target database. And now action send, connection, reuse, operation. I'll have to select now. Account update. Account database profile. So now if I go here and I'll say dynamic update, because this is update, I'll go and say dynamic update and import this. So say sf underscore account. Next. So you'll see here what conditions you want to specify for the where clause. So you need to know which condition you'll have to specify. So for updating, there have to be one particular column which it have to reference to, right? So you'll have to give the unique column name here. So I'll say sf underscore id. So this frames this as update and where clause, where sf underscore id equal to. Okay. Next. So you'll see here fields and you'll see here as conditions. Under conditions, you will be able to see sf underscore id. Right? So now say save and close. Account database profile. So I'll say this as account update database profile. So one thing you'll have to remember here is the commit options that are there here. So commit options are of two types. Commit by number of rows, which means commits after a specified number of rows designated by the batch count have executed. A final commit is also done at the end of each document to commit outstanding rows. Final commit do not span documents. And while coming to commit by profile, it does a single commit after all statements in the profile have executed. This option avoids orphaned rows when the database profile contains multiple statements. For example, like tables that have parent-child relationship, right? So also you'll be able to see batch count here. So batch count sets the number of rows to commit. When it is left blank and the commit option is set to number of rows, then there is no limit. All rows in the documents are then processed at the end as a single commit, right? So now we will save and close this. So now again use a map. SF2DB account update map. Choose your XML profile. And here select database. So now say Boomi suggest again. So if you see here near the update conditions, SF underscore ID is mapped to ID. So that's good. And we have also seen the error for description, right? So use right character trim. So right character trim and say fixed to length 40. So I'll map this to description. So just by dragging this back, it will be unmapped. Okay. So this is now done. Save and close. Okay. Now database stop. Execute. So this is now done. If I go to database here and say select star from, so you'll see here account type prospect. So it got updated. It had only 3 records and it had updated the account type. So this way we can update the database in, we can update the records in database, right? So now what we'll do is, so now I have a scenario that say if the data already present, it have to go and update it. If it is not present, it have to go and insert it. So if I have to do this kind of scenario, what am I going to do? So I'll go and create one more process, sf2db insert update. So here let's start with no data and I'll create Salesforce. We can reuse the connection and operation as well, right? So now here, what am I going to do? I will use a decision. I'll use a decision and in first value. So I want to now see whether that record is present in database or no. I need to have a lookup on database to see if that record exists or no. So I'll select SQL statement here. So select SQL statement and select the connection. And you can give the SQL statement. Select count of star from sf underscore account where sf underscore id equal to, parameter can be passed as question mark, right? And where I'm getting this value from, sf underscore id, I'm getting it from Salesforce XML profile. So I need to select that profile, XML profile, and select the profile here and element. So it is sf underscore id, which is nothing but id here. So this is done. Output column, which means 1, which is returning 1 column out, and output type character. Right? So click on OK and equal to, and if it is equal to 0, right? So which means if it is not present, if it is not present, go and insert it. So now I'll have to insert it. So I already have the process for inserting db to insert, right? So I already have this process. So let me reuse this. Let me call this process. So see here Salesforce is already there. So let me remove this Salesforce connector because it is already there. And this is the flow. Now the data from main process should flow to this process, correct? So when you say no data, which means your process is starting with no data. But if it have to have the data from the main process, then you'll have to say data pass through, right? So for process starting with data pass through, we recommend that you disable capture run dates. So capture run dates, which means, as we already discussed, whenever a process is executing, we are saying to capture the last, it captures, automatically captures last run date and last successful run date for us by default. Boomi captures. So for data pass through, it is not required because your main process already has this capture run dates. So you can say make recommend change. So your capture run dates will be disabled. So click OK. Now what you're saying that data will be passed through main process to this process. So similar change for DB2 update. Data pass through. So this is called process call. Save and close. Right. So let's call this as SQL lookup. And if it is true, which means if it is no data, go and call the insert. So you'll have something called process call here. So use this and select SF to DB insert. And here you can call SF to DB update. So you'll have two options here. Wait for the process to complete. So if you check that option, so your process will wait till the process execution completes, and abort if sub process fails. So if you check this, the main process also aborts if the sub process fails. Right? So click on OK. So this is done. Let's now execute it. So because we already have all of them, it have to now go to SF to DB update all the flows. So see now all of them have gone to SF to DB update. So here if you see, you are able to see what it is being executed. So see here the value already present 1 equal to 0 false. So it has gone to update. Okay. So here it had gone to update. So here if you want to go into the sub process, you can click on shape source data and you'll be able to see process call. So if you click on here, it goes into the sub process. So see here it had updated. Similarly for the second document. So now if I go here and see prospect. So now in order to again test this, let me go here and modify global media. So edit and say prospect to integrator. So this is modified. Also, I'll go and create a new one. I'll create a new account and I'll give this as test type integrator website test@esi.com and phone 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So with these details, let me save it. So now if I go to accounts here, I'll be able to see 4, right? Now we'll execute this process. So see now, into DB to SF to DB insert, one record have gone, and you'll see that that document is test integrator, and to here three of them have gone. Now if I go to database here and say select star from, you'll see test has been created, and global media account type has been modified to integrator. So with that we have completed SF to DB insert, update, and SQL lookup. So now say you wanted to delete this particular record that has been created, the test record that has been created, you wanted to delete this, right? So for that, what am I going to do? I'll create one more process. So name this as database delete record, right? So create this, say no data, okay, and create your target and say send action, select connection, and create your operation. So I'll say here delete database connector operation, account delete, and now say dynamic delete. So here we have seen standard insert update delete is nothing but writing down the statements, and we have seen dynamic insert, dynamic update, and dynamic delete we are going to see. Stored procedure we'll see in later classes. Okay, so now just say import, select yours, say next. So select the table, say next. And here you'll only have to select the condition with which you want to delete. So select SF underscore ID, the unique element, and now you'll be able to see only conditions here, right? You'll not be able to see the elements, only conditions will be there. So now say save and close. Click on OK. Now what am I going to do? I'll use a map here. So now I need to pass that particular value, right, to which I want to delete that ID need to be passed. So what am I going to do? I'll say account delete record map and select your database profile here. And here I'll be, so now you see if I need to pass the value here, I can also do this. I can statically pass this value. So I'll give a default value here, set default value. See this? I can give this default value here, or it can come from source as well. And then here, so now I don't have input. So what I can do, I can create a dummy profile. So I'll say flat file, create new profile, and just say dummy flat file profile. Just say dummy flat file profile. Click on OK. And say stop. So now if I execute this, so here it says account dill, please check source profile matches the source data. So the condition is not there here. So let me provide the default value again. Save and close and execute. So this is done. Now if I go here and say select star from, so you see that test record has been deleted. So this is how we work with Salesforce to database integrations. So database insert, update, delete we have now seen, right? So now let's go back to the slides. So database send, we have seen commit option. So commit by number of rows, commits after a specified number of records designated by batch count have executed. Final commit is also at the end of each document to commit outstanding records. So a final commit is also done. Final commit do not span the documents. And commit by profile does a single commit after all statements in profile have executed. This option evaluates often rows from the database profile contains multiple statements. For example, like tables that have parent-child relationship. And coming to batch count, it sets the number of rows to count. When blank, you will be able to see there is no limit. So when it is blank and the commit option is set to number of rows, there is no limit. All rows in the document are then processed at the end as a single commit, right? So that's the end of our day 8 session. If you have any queries, please let us know. Thank you.